Greetings, comrade YouTube. It is I, Comrade Warbles on a Lot. Today I address you on a matter of utmost urgency. Do-it-yourself, homegrown neurotoxins. Are you aware of what to look out for? All you in the alleged bracket in close bracket security industry? Have you considered how possible, how plausible it may be for dissidents, disaffected, divergent individuals, deviants, to construct their own neurotoxin? Are you aware of what you should be searching for? How many otherwise innocent forests are there within driving distance of yourself, where deviant, disaffected, dangerous dissidents may in fact be right at this moment planting their homegrown nerve gas? If you seriously want to maintain that the price of peace is eternal vigilance, and if you're prepared to accept that the price of eternal vigilance is clinical paranoia, well, honey bunch of kins, I'm going to educate you. Weapons of Tomorrow, page 150. Obtaining initial supplies of biological or toxin stocks would be quite easy. To make ricin, all one needs is a supply of castor beans or seeds. Not only does the castor oil plant grow wild over much of the world, but varieties are also frequently found in commercial nurseries where they are sold for gardens and homes. Any large-scale use of ricin would call for a great deal of starting material, but even this might be obtained more easily than is commonly believed. Every manufacturer of castor oil takes the first step in ricin production when they separate the oil from the crude bean cake which carries the toxic constituent. Bribery or theft could provide abundant supplies. Microorganisms for breeding biological agents could be acquired from university, industrial or public health laboratories. Well, we move back a little bit. Page 106. Ricin has been widely known and studied for years. It is one of the most deadly known poisons in the world and is some 25,000 times as toxic as strychnine. 1.5 micrograms can prove fatal to an average adult. It was only recently, however, that researchers discovered the mechanism by which ricin kills, which is that it inhibits the cells that synthesize protein. Even now, the mechanism is not completely understood, but work undertaken at the Institute for Cancer Research in Oslo has found most of the answers. Ricin apparently consists of glycoprotein bands which divide into two peptide chains, bracket A and B, close bracket. Upon attacking a cell, the A chain, bracket, the, quote, effector, close bracket, and possibly the B chain, bracket, the, quote, haptomer, close bracket, as well, enters the cell and carries the toxic constituent into the cytoplasm. The main function of the B chain seems to be to bind the ricin to the cell's surface and allow the A chain to enter. As in Markov's case, the symptoms of ricin poisoning are a rapid rise in the white blood cell count followed by death due to toxemia. There is no known effective antidote, and ricin is extremely difficult to trace in a post-mortem. It has been widely studied throughout the world and was investigated for a variety of reasons, including the detoxification of the plant from which it is derived in order to produce animal feed. It has also been studied as a possible cancer treatment because it appears to attack malignant cells more readily than normal ones. There's a bonus. Ricin has been considered a candidate warfare agent since World War I and has the code name WA in the American arsenal. It has never been deployed in large quantities despite intensive secrecy surrounding its possible applications in what the US Army calls, quote, toxicological warfare, unquote. Nevertheless, there are any number of published methods for preparing ricin in small crystalline quantities suitable for laboratory work or clandestine assassinations. The US Chemical Corps brief was to produce it in large quantities suitable for insertion into munitions and without loss of toxicity or stability. In a watery solution, ricin becomes unstable at a temperature above 60 to 70 degrees centigrade, and in solid form after about 100 degrees. It is also sensitive to both acids and alkalis and may have its toxicity reduced by the heat generated in mechanically grinding it down to the particle size suitable for chemical warfare. One approach was to grind and press the beans to remove most of the castor oil and then soak the resulting cake in a solvent to take out the small percentage of remaining oil. The cake was soaked again in a solution of acidified water to remove most of the toxic material and filtered. It then went through a long sequence of further soaking in a neutralised salt water solution, recovery, washing, filtration, and the eventual separation of concentrated ricin. Next, the mixture was dried and passed through a fine screen and air ground to reduce it to a powder composed of individual particles with an average size between 2.5 and 3.5 microns. Chemical and biological warfare research had previously shown that this was the ideal particle size for attacking the lungs, where biological and toxin agents are most lethal, as smaller particles are likely to be exhaled without causing damage, while larger ones are unlikely to reach the lungs. Can you imagine? People were paid taxpayers' dollars to do the research that resulted in the writing of the papers which were referred to for the composition of that article, that chapter in this book. And there are people who think that by running around wearing shiny, shiny shoes with neat straight seams in the ironed trouser legs of their uniforms, by standing at street corners and vigilantly staring at people who trigger their own personal paranoias, measured against whomsoever they knew and liked when they were in primary schools, they believe that they can prevent other people who are pissed off from doing dangerous, violent, hurtful, harmful, deadly, mutilating things to society at large. I don't believe it's a valid hypothesis. I think the way to avoid people doing nasty shit to me is if I don't do any nasty shit that makes them want to do it to me. But anyway, that's why I don't work in the insecurity industry. And that's why when I find a couple of castor oil plants growing in a random pot of dirt because they've been air seeded, because castor oil plants are feral and wild in inland Australia, they grow on every rubbish dump, it occurs to me that it's a clever prop to instigate the making of a movie poking fun at the institutionalised paranoia of people who believe in the insecurity industry. Next time I touch on these sort of subjects, I'll either do a movie on BLEVEs or perhaps a book review of the Anarchist Cookbook. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. You can drink to that even if you don't have a pipe to put it in for the smoking oil. Ciao.